Hi, welcome. I'm Camille and this is Camille Made, where I get to talk about my absolute love for knitting. I am so excited for this video. This is my first time doing a Make 9 and this will be my 2026 Make 9 plans. I'm wrapping up my first full year of knitting, and during that process I've just learned so much about knitting and different techniques and patterns that I want to try in the coming year, which is very fast approaching. So yeah, we will get into it in just a little bit. I just want to talk about probably how I'm going to structure how I talk about each thing that I mentioned. 8 out of 9 of the projects in my Make 9 are knitting related, with one being sewing. There are no real summer patterns. I don't really knit summer tank tops or anything like that. And so yeah, most of the things are more fall, winter oriented. And when I mention a pattern, I'll mention its designer, the weight that it's knit in, any finished measurements, size range, any colorways that I'm particularly inspired to knit that pattern in, and maybe a little background as to how that pattern even landed on my Make 9 in the first place. I want to mention what I am wearing before we get into it, and that is my Braidy loop sweater by Other Loops. I knitted this with some thrifted yarn from a craft reuse store here in Atlanta and held it with a Sayer silk mohair in the colorway 2S, which is their light gray. I also want to mention I am filming this on a Fujifilm X-T30, which overheats so ridiculously fast. So if you notice any minute changes of my position on this couch, it's just because I have to give my camera a little break before I resume filming. But yeah, that's kind of what I have to deal with. And if you've been watching my channel from the beginning, you know that this is a long-standing problem. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about the first thing. Let me grab my laptop and we'll talk about my 2026 Make 9. Okay, we have my laptop and I've tried to let the camera cool down just a little bit, but I wanted to go ahead and get this thing started. So, sorry, I'm like fidgeting with myself. The first sweater that I'm gonna mention is the Frey sweater by Meadow, perhaps, with her knitting bestie Thea M. They are two designers located in Norway and created this absolute stunner of a sweater. It is oversized, perfect, all over color work. Now, the reason I kind of hesitated in putting this in my 2026 Make 9 is because it is bottom up. I've never knit a sweater with that construction, but it has two other features that I really love in my sweaters, which is drop shoulder as well as a circular collar. It comes in two versions, which is a 2-color as well as a 4-color. When you buy the pattern, you actually get both versions, which is super sweet. And it is Aran weight. You knit the body with a US 9 5.5 millimeter needle, and the ribbing is done in a US 7 4.5 millimeter. And you have sizes extra small to extra large, which corresponds to an 80 to 135 centimeter bust circumference, which is also 31 inches to 53 inches. And the pattern is written to provide a positive ease of 15 to 20 centimeters, which is about 6 to 8 inches. I saw this pattern when it first released, and then people who started working the pattern said that it was bottom up, and I just got a little scared because that's not a construction method that I had tried before. And I think that with herd mentality on like Knit Talk and other social media platforms, people were like, oh, bottom up's not my favorite construction. So I tended to steer away from patterns that utilize that construction. How many times can I say construction? But when I saw my best friend over holiday break, she lives in New York City, I live in Atlanta, so we are long distance besties. There was a time where we lived like 5 minutes apart from one another. I did get to see her for holiday break, which was so sweet, and we got to do a Christmas gift exchange in person, which I loved. I opened my Christmas gift and there was the printed version of this pattern. My best friend does not knit, but I guess because she interacts with my content, knitting stuff happens upon her For You page. And she said that when she saw this pattern, she's like, this is so Camille. And I was like, you are so right, girl. And I took that as a sign that it has to be in my 2026 Make 9 plans. I already have yarn that I want to use for the main color. This was in my stash. It was a recent yarn acquisition, and it's the line brand Fisherman Wool and the colorway Oatmeal. On eBay, I purchased a 3-pack at a significantly lower price than what it is offered currently on just normal retail sites, and I'm so excited. At first I thought I was gonna knit it and like knit the sweater in a cream base color with maybe like a navy contrasting or burgundy contrasting color for the color work, but I don't know, I want it to be a little more utilitarian, so I'm really happy that I have this in stash. And from Wool & Co, I purchased the Knitting for Olive Soft Silk Mohair and the colorway Marzipan to hold with this, and there's fuzz in my face, and I think that I, for the color work, want to use either a cream like the Illuminati Amelie in white, or like a ballet slipper pink like the Illuminati Amelie in pink, which I actually recently used for a reclaimed stripe pullover. That project vlog is up on my YouTube. I'll put the link in the description below. But I think I kind of want to either use cream or that ballet slipper pink just to make it a little more girly. So I think this is probably going to be a cast on the next coming weeks once I figure out exactly what colorway I want to do. But I'm quite excited about that, and that is the first pattern in my 2026 Make 9. The next one is the Henny Cardigan Knitters and Friends. This pattern I came across by way of another content creator. Her name is Hanna Way. She's on YouTube as well as TikTok, Instagram. She's great. She puts out a lot of like sewing, knitting content, and she was trying to create a Baba dupe of one of their cardigans and ended up using this pattern for its construction. It is a drop shoulder cardigan. It is knitted in DK weight yarn using US 7 4.5 millimeter needles for the body. It comes in 5 sizes and has a finished bust circumference of 110 to 150 centimeters, which is 43 inches to 59 inches. And I will put all the other measurements for positive ease on the screen because otherwise I'm going to get tongue twisted. But for the most part, it's about 12 to 14 inches of positive ease. And my sweet, sweet husband, for a Christmas treat, let me pick out yarn for a project. And I already had this pattern on my radar for 2026. So I was like, can I have this yarn? And it is I ended up picking Purl Soho's Line Weight in Clover Green and Purl Soho's Tussock in Lucky Green. Maybe I hope I didn't switch those around. I'll put, of course, all the details on here. But I'm going to hold the line weight double with a strand of the tussock to probably meet gauge for the sweater. And this is actually going to be what I cast on January 1, 2026. It'll be my first project of the new year. I'm so excited and just so thankful for this generous, sweet gift from my husband. And I think that I'll probably get it done relatively fast because it's just knitting back and forth once you establish most of the sweater. So yes, that is the second pattern for my 2026 Make 9, and I'm just so beyond excited. All right, let's see what is next. And in this picture, you'll see the Tyra sweater by Ingrid Dibb. She is the same designer that created the Frey sweater. She's just the absolute pro when it comes to creating these very delicious oversized cable knit pieces of art. I have this pattern featured in the photo, but really what I want is just a good basic navy sweater. I have so many fun colors in my hand knit collection. As you can see from like my 2025 cardi, there's a lot of like purples, mauves, pinks, a couple of aqua robin egg pieces, but I really need a couple of just good basic standard hand knits to rely on. Of course, I have this, which is more of a grayish. I would like a true beige cardigan or pullover, as well as maybe a cream colored pullover, but at the forefront of my mind has always been a navy sweater. That's just something that's completely lacking in my wardrobe altogether, hand knit and ready made. So I keep gravitating towards the Tyra sweater. It is a drop shoulder cable knit construction. It is Aran weight, more like heavy worsted weight, I believe, using US 8 5mm needles on the body. It comes in 4 sizes, with the finished bust circumference being 128 to 153 centimeters, which is 50.4 to 60 inches. Now, the first thing that comes to mind, like the first navy yarn that comes to mind when I think navy, is the Blue Sky Fibers wool stock in the colorway Midnight Sea. It's just a really true deep navy, and I think that would just make a really beautiful navy pullover. But also, I have an alternative pattern also in mind. However, it's DK weight, and that is the Knitting for Olive Cobra sweater. This is a DK weight gauge using US 7 4.5mm needles on the body. The pattern, of course, recommends a Knitting for Olive merino, so 1 strand of the merino held with the Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair to reach gauge. The size range is pretty commendable. It goes from extra small to 4XL. The finished measurements, I believe, are 91 to 145 centimeters for the bust circumference, which is 35.75 inches to 57 inches. And I really think that this sweater is so unique in that it looks like almost like a 2x2 ribbing that then descends into some cable work with kind of like a wider sleeve. And if you know me, I just love all things oversized, all things positive ease. The more positive ease, the better. And I just really love their patterns. I will say, having knit the Bear Bonnet before, where you kind of have to already have some foundations and it's not really a hand holding pattern, I do wonder if the Cobra sweater is similar to that. So I would have to do a little more research on Ravelry, see if there's any comments on that, just to understand. But even if it isn't the easiest pattern, obviously I just love a good opportunity to use some critical thinking skills and work it out on my own. So yes, that is my desire for a navy sweater. We'll probably prioritize doing the Tyra sweater. It's also Aran weight versus DK weight, and that just works up a little bit faster. But now that I've really seen the Cobra sweater, I'm torn. I'll have a couple of months to think about it because I've got 2 sweaters that'll be worked on pretty immediately. So I'll have a lot of time in between to think what I want to do for that perfect navy sweater that I'm going to use as a staple in my wardrobe. All right, let's go on to the next thing, which is the Kettle Cove pattern by Jennifer Brew. This design was featured in Lane Magazine's issue 19, which I purchased on sale at One More Row. I believe I've already mentioned it in this video. It's a yarn store located in Woodstock, Georgia, and it was in their sale bin. And it was actually featured on the front of the magazine, which is why I purchased the magazine in the first place. And I was like, I have to knit that. It's my colors with that like chartreuse color and like a dusty rose pink. And I think the color works a little intimidating, and I think there's like some stitching that you would embroider on top because the back panel of the vest didn't have that same like vertical line going down. So I'm curious to see how that would work out. It is knitted bottom up. So womp womp, we've got 2 patterns in my Make 9 that are bottom up. A little nervous. But it is knitted with worsted weight yarn using a US 8 5mm needle. The suggested yarn is the Deverum Natura Gilead, and the colors Argyle, Creme Anglaise, and Jeanette. And I would actually purchase that exact yarn in those exact colors because those are the colors that I would want in that vest. Just so fun, so unique. It also commendable size range. It comes in 9 sizes with a recommended ease of 3 to 6 inches, which is about 7.5 to 15 centimeters of positive ease. I would probably knit 2 to 3 sizes larger than what's probably recommended for me because I just want an oversized vest, and I'm planning to wear it with a couple of like flowy white tops underneath if I actually get to this pattern. The finished chest measurement is 33.75 inches to 67 inches, which is roughly 84 centimeters to 169 centimeters. So not much more to say about it, but again, I'm a little nervous because it's bottom up, but hopefully knitting the Frey sweater will kind of knock out some of the anxiety that I have about that specific construction. Okay, I hope you guys don't judge me. This is not a good tech day for me. Like my camera's overheating, my laptop died. Honestly, I don't know if it's a good tech day or just I didn't prep very well. I prepped well with the information, but the tech part of it is a little bit lacking. I'm gonna use my phone while my laptop is charging. So the next thing on my Make 9 is a berry colored pullover, hence the picture of the raspberry and strawberry shortcake sitting on top of it. But I love this color. As you can probably tell from like makes that I've made this year, they fall under that pink, reddish, dusty rose colorway, and I really just want a good berry colored pullover. With that being said, I have knit my Dagmar jacket in Baroque Vintage Rhubarb. So gorgeous, such an outstanding color. But I do want the color in the pullover to kind of stand alone on its own. And for a pullover, I really enjoyed using the Sonia sweater by Petite Knit. I used that pattern to construct my reclaimed striped pullover. I love the German short rows. I love the design choices that Petite Knit made. So it's top down. I mentioned the German short row fur shaping, drop shoulder construction, double knit collar, double knit circular collar using, I believe, US 8 needles. And I think it'd just be like a really simple stockinette, like palette cleanser in between maybe some of the more tedious projects that I have on my Make 9. The Sonia sweater is designed to have an approximate positive ease of 30 centimeters, which is 11.75 inches in the smaller sizes, and it becomes just a little bit less in its larger sizes. The finish, it fits a bust circumference of 75 to 150 centimeters, which is 29.5 to 59 inches, with the finished bust circumference of the sweater being 110 to 160 centimeters, which is 43.75 to 63 inches. That's all I have to say on that. I would just love a good berry stockinette pullover just for that pop of color maybe in the winter months. I mean, just how gorgeous would that be? The next thing that I'm going to mention, which I'm so excited, I know everybody's knitting it right now, and I'm like, oh, I want to do it now, but there are just so many other projects that have really been itching to be cast on. So this will happen in 2026 because I just absolutely love this sweater, and it is the Remy Raglan by Jules Efterfield. I feel really cool getting to say that her and I are actually friends on TikTok. No, she's such a cool girl on her TikTok, Instagram. Of course, I will put all of her details so you guys can also bask in her glory. It is a one-size-fits-all sweater pattern. It is meant to be a dupe for the Baba 51, I believe, and it is just raglan, oversized. It's basically supposed to be the hand knit version of your favorite sweatshirt, and it is bulky weight, so it works up so fast. It is knitted with US 10.5 6.5 millimeter needles for the body, and I know a lot of people are holding, I think, their bulky weight yarn with a fingering weight strand of yarn that's a bit lighter than their main color to create a marling effect. I am not a big marling girl, so I'd probably go for a more monochromatic look, but Jules has kindly recommended the Cascade Ecological Wool, and I am thinking of maybe doing that using the Ecological Wool in 8016 beige or the 8019 antique. So it's like a cream gray versus a grayish, which is literally what I'm wearing now. So maybe I'll have to do the 8016 beige, or maybe I'll just do 8019 antique. It's my hand knit collection. So yes, that is the next pattern that is on my Make 9. The next one is the sewing project that I want to do in 2026, and that is a quilted jacket. I think currently, well, I don't know if the sew along is done or if it's currently going on, but there is like a Hurry Home sew along going on. Hurry Home Quilt is a pattern designed by Spaghetti Western Sewing, and I would love to create a quilted jacket maybe out of those quilt blocks. I think it's a 9 square quilt block, and then you have the Hurry Home quilt block. However, I would also just love to source a gorgeous vintage quilt and turn it into a jacket, maybe perhaps using the Soft Paws Chore Coat pattern. And she also did this in a quilted version, but also one of those like fleece wool vintage blankets that she sourced as well. I absolutely just love the pattern, and I think it'd be a great way to kind of advance in my sewing skill, perhaps. I'm not really sure. I can sew project bags. I've made a couple of tops. I'm not the most proficient in it, so maybe in 2026 we can become a more mature sewist and delve into the quilting world. Okay, and the next one is going to be a Christmas sweater. I did not knit a Christmas sweater this year. I think I was just trying to finish some whips, and I was a little busy just prepping for the holidays, non-knitting wise, so it really wasn't a priority for me, but it will be a priority in 2026, and I'll make sure to start it early. And the one that I've really just been looking at ever since I started knitting was the Knitting for Olive snow sweater. I love the simplicity of it, and I think it's not only Christmas, but it's also just winter-esque, and its sleeves have those gorgeous snow-covered evergreen pine trees, and it has like snowflakes coming down the sleeve. I think the bottom is done with a I-cord edge, but I might do ribbing for the bottom instead of the I-cord edge, perhaps. I love the colorway that is featured. I don't know if that's a gray or a blue, but I would like to do almost like a midnight blue gray kind of color for the base, but I would keep the green and the cream exactly the same. It is a DK weight yarn using US 6 4mm needles on the body. Of course, 1 strand knitting for olive merino plus 1 strand knitting for olive soft silk mohair, because it is a knitting for olive pattern. Same amazing size range from extra small to 5XL. The finished measurements for the chest circumference is approximately 95 to 156 centimeters, which is 37.5 to 61.5 inches. You can't get any better than that, and I just think that would be so good. And even like if you're wearing a coat, you could kind of hide the like Christmas motifs if you need to. It could just be a good basic, but it's so good. And I love the fact that it's just, I need to see if it's on the body also, the color work, but I just love the color work being on the sleeves at the very bottom. All right, that's my plan for a Christmas sweater. I think I'm a little scared to do 3, like color work where you're using 3 colors at the same time. Maybe that'll be a 2027 Make 9 issue. Okay, let's reveal the last spot on my Make 9, and that is the Meadow by Teddy Lutzak. I hope I pronounced that right. And it's just the most, for me, it looks like the most intricate sweater that I'll probably ever make, and I think it would literally be a wearable piece of art if I could accomplish this. It's knitted with sport weight yarn in US 6 4mm needles for the body. Huge range of sizes from 1 to 7. Written for 20 centimeters, 8 inches positive ease for the bust sizes, 94 centimeters to 150 centimeters, which is 27.5 inches to 60 inches. I am thinking for this sweater, always subject to change, would be a cream with the color work done in navy. I think it's just a gorgeous, gorgeous sweater, and yeah, that's all I have to say on it. This is probably the most intimidating pattern on my Make 9, and second to it would be probably the Frey sweater, which is the next cast on for me after the Henny cardigan. And yeah, that's my 2026 Make 9 And I kind of just wanted to wrap up with just a couple of thoughts of my first full year of knitting. I think that I'm a pretty impatient person prior to knitting, and I think knitting has taught me a lot of patience, and that genuinely things just happen and mistakes happen, and all you can do and what matters most is how you approach moving past that situation. And with knitting, anything can happen. You're just knitting along and all of a sudden you're like 5 rows past a mistake, and then you realize, oh my god, I made a mistake. Just frog back, just tack back and fix it. And I think that's kind of how I've been approaching life recently, is that when things happen, I'm just like, try to digest that that's happened, grieve it if you need to, and then move past it and try your best to fix it if you can. And I think like that's not even much about like, oh, I memorized make one left, make one right. But it's just like a really huge life lesson that knitting has taught me. And another thing that I'm just so grateful for knitting is the sense of community that it has brought me. I never thought that when I started posting on social media about knitting that I would ever even have anyone that would be remotely interested in following or hearing about that process. And I think that now with social media and being part of knitting, we have this just deep pool and this wealth of resources that we can always reach into if we need to, and how lucky we are to have that, and to just have the ability and opportunity to always learn from others without directly being face to face, even though I would like to meet some of you face to face actually, so come hang out with me. But yeah, I'm so grateful for the joy and the peace and the confidence that knitting has brought me. I'm so grateful to all of you who have decided to join me in this journey. If you've made it this far in this video, thank you so much. I hope that if you are working on something, you made good progress. I hope that if you are looking for some inspiration for your 2026 projects, that you found it. And please, please, please let me know what's in your queue for 2026. Maybe I can shift my make 9 and change some things up and be inspired by you guys. But yes, I hope you guys have the happiest of New Year's. And again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for such just a joyous year. I'm crying. For just a joyous year of making. You guys have meant so much to me. I'm losing light. I need to say bye. This took so long to make because of the fact that my camera just kept overheating, so it took way longer than it should have. Okay, I'm gonna let you guys go now. I've been yapping for far too long. Happy New Year. Stay warm, stay safe, and I'll talk to you guys hopefully soon. Bye!